What's crackin', ladies and gents? Nerfcar here, and welcome back to the channel. Chapter 34, where a lot of people start to get stuck for days or weeks. I'll quickly go over the teams for Chapter 34 of 5 and Chapter 34 of 10. The first team, the control team, with Queen as main damage carry. She is always equipped with Divine Prayer Artifact to survive any one-shots and to survive long enough to get some golem hits off. King of Hell is equipped with Fictional Reality for survivability, so that he can live long enough to pick off the weakened enemies after a few blasts from the Queen's Golem. That is basically the concept of me choosing these two heroes together, as King of Hell does a lot of his damage when the enemies are below 50% health. For Blaze Centaur, I have not given him any artifacts, as he survives through enough hits to warrant him to go without. I give Ivy either no artifact or Blessing Prophet, as she is too squishy, and used as a sacrifice to vine the enemies. Einstein is used as a buffer for the enemy Toko, and I use Radiance Tribute on him. Medusa uses Primal Power. I could actually give it to someone else, but she tends to die at least by the second round. For the second team, it's still basically trying to buff Toko's damage, but I put in a Pierre with her to ensure I complete the second round easily, since the control team does require a bit of RNG. I'd like to ensure that I don't have to deal with even more RNG in the second phase. For this, I used Fatal Judgment on Toko, and Pierre always uses Eternal Soul artifact. The rest of the team had no artifacts. Since my Godslayer was not that strong, I had to give him Toko's equipment and Eden Space artifact, which works really well on him if you are a free-to-play player or a light spender. I treat him like I do any damage carry. I try to make sure to place him in teams with supports that increase his damage and they debuff the enemy. Houston is always using Templar Glory. Thinker likely was using Braveheart. Camp has Wings of Angel, and the rest will likely have the leftover artifacts. Chapter 34 of 5 was not that bad. I was stuck on it just for a few days. Let's watch the battle.
Solitary charge!
Petrified stare. Kneel before me, or die.
Space fragment!
Swift shadow!
Double kill! Think big! Solitary charge! Inferno lava! Double kill! I am the hell! Triple kill! I am the hell! Pentakill! Inferno lava!
Pay for your avarice with your life.
Space fragment! Double kill. Triple kill. Quadra kill.
Sea monster wave.
Rolling in the wind. Whip shadow.
Pentakill. My hook bites.
Angry ape. Slayer of kin. Father of sin.
Sonic sprint.
Gorilla rises.
Petrify stare.
Double kill.
Skill copy.
Triple kill. Double kill. My hook bites.
Suffering ends with death.
Triple kill. Pentakill. Legendary kill.
As for Chapter 34 of 10, here are my conditions for my team composition. If I see a combat type and Anubis who is not in position 1, I would hardly ever use my Queen of Desert team against it. Only time I would use Einstein is if Anubis is in position 1. I found that I can complete phase 1 easily with my Toko team, and she always uses Fatal Judgment in PvE, just because my Godslayer is still not that strong. For the second team, when I see a Laura, I would normally always use Einstein, unless Toko can clear it without, but at Chapter 34, she no longer can, because I stopped focusing on Toko. I had to use Pierre to give my team with Queen a bit more punch, as Superman faction counters tech. For the third team, it was imperative that I had Christine stun the front row, or else once the enemy general of rescue does his basic attack, he would normally activate Rush Offense, which would basically one-shot the front row, and that would mean a wipe. The enemy Sally does a lot of damage as well as Forest of Avatar. I needed to lock Forest of Avatar before he can use his skill attack, or else that would also mean a wipe. So that is why I used a Gonable. Same concept applies like a Toko team. I use Lucy with Time Artifact and Houston to buff up my Godslayer so that he does enough damage to be able to do his chase attacks. I always use Restore Ship for this team, as this is meant to be my tanky team, but seriously in PvE, at Chapter 34 or even 33, they just do too much damage anyway for them to be tanky. Let's watch the battle.
Legendary kill.
Rise from the ashes. Petrified stand. Rise from the ashes. Try to follow. Perfect storm.
Chapter 34 of 15. I was stuck here for a week and a half, but of course I don't brute force, so it'll take a while. The enemy with Indira was pretty difficult, and as usual I built Queen tanky using Divine Prayer. I had to use Pierre for this one as Indira literally one-shots King of Hell due to faction restraint. I had to use Queen for this enemy team as the next two enemy teams both have combat type. So as you can see, combat type. And it would be close to impossible to win with combat type there. So as for the second team, I had to use my tanky team here as the Toko team just gets wiped out by Pierre. Also, the reason why I had to use Godslayer is because he targets a random enemy in his column. So in this case, he targeted Pierre and I needed him to take out Pierre, which he did. I've since gotten my Godslayer to Immortal, and once I get him fully awakened, including Skill Awaken, I will explain how you can best utilize him as a free-to-play or a light spender. As for the last team, I kept wiping here and always got stuck here a lot, only because of Toko's RNG. She just kept doing 5 pursuit attacks, and then that would snowball into the enemy team wiping me out. Let's watch the battles. Chapter 34 of 20. I thought I was going to be stuck here for a while, but it took only a few days. So for the first team, since the enemy had mostly tech, I chose to use Toko, Pierre, and Einstein, only because, of course, Laura is there, and she tends to one-shot. I had to use Pierre for this one, as Toko is not using her usual gear, and having Pierre there lessened the RNG. So as you can see, that's the team there. For the second enemy team, I had to place Godslayer in position 5. So right there. Because Gonibol was too tanky for him to be able to do his chase attacks. And like I said before, he attacks his column, and sometimes he would attack Toko, but when he does attack Gonibol was just too tanky. So I did this to lessen the RNG as well. He can also be placed in position 6. So this is an Immortal Godslayer, but before I had him at Immortal for this round, I needed my Houston to buff him more, otherwise it was still doable without him being Immortal. I was able to clear it except for the RNG in the last stage. That took a couple more tries. So the Queen team is RNG, and it does take a couple tries before I can clear. Luckily, this last team is not as strong as the first two. Let's watch the battles. Thanks for watching my current favorite game, X-Hero.